From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the Business, Equity, and Opportunities Podcast with Scott Sander.
Welcome to the Business, Equity, and Opportunities Podcast. I'm Scott Sander.
Last month, Wish TV's Celebrating Women special featured a conversation with Dr. Dorothy, Doty, Simpson-Taylor. She's an Airforce veteran, educator, counselor, woman of faith, and co-founder of the Sister Soldier Network. It helps support female veterans as they make the move from military service back to civilian life. She's dedicated her entire life to service to others and serves up some soft-spoken inspiration on what makes a good community partner and citizen.
Every business is unique and has a target audience. If you own or manage a business, Circulus Digital Media can help you connect and grow your customer base with turnkey digital solutions that are nimble, offering best-in-class results, service, and support to reach a bigger customer base, allowing you to pinpoint a specific audience down to the smallest details. Get outside the city, the state, span the globe. Put Circulus Digital Media to work for you. Get started now at circulusdigital.com. That's circulusdigital.com.
So, Doty, you had a pretty impressive career, pretty impressive community service. But I understand that you kind of set your path when you were 12 years old. Can you tell me that story?
I certainly can. But let me start a little younger than that. So I'm the oldest of 11 kids, the second oldest grandchild of 110 first cousins. So, I literally have thousands of relatives. And that is no joke because everybody would say, be fruitful and multiply. So as we were, when I was growing up, I would have to take care of, at 5 years old, I know I was taking care of 9 kids. And I would tell them, children, I'm not getting you a whooping. Do you understand? So everybody gonna straighten up and fly right. So I was prepared to take a leadership role from as a young person. And really also because that's what number one children do. If I was in the middle, I would be doing middle child stuff. And my number 7 sister ain't never got over being a baby, even though there were 3 kids after her. So, but she was the 7th girl. So when I think about how one develops, you kind of do it on your journey. So by the time I was 12, it was like I was looking around and I was thinking about being this eldest and the second eldest. And I said, I have got to take a path where the option is to be successul. I come from Waterloo, Iowa. I was born in Mississippi and raised in Waterloo. And watching my father and my mom would feed anybody. And Daddy just had such a gentle spirit about him that he just said, these are the ways that one be a human being. And so, you have to, in order for people to be around you and feel comfortable and to emulate some of that just calmness in life, you have to demonstrate that first. And I watched my dad be present. I watched him be persistent in the ways that he was. I watched my mama cook in big pots because I still don't know how to cook in a little pot. So even when I'm cooking for myself, I have leftovers you could come over at any time and I could have a leftover that you would like to have something to eat. You also have to be willing to participate with other people's lives and to enhance their lives, not by trying to be braggadocious or trying to manipulate. It's just that whenever they're going through something, all you have to do is say, it may not even need to say anything, but just to be there and to just participate and let them know that you're concerned and caring. And so I learned to be caring from that experience as well. And I learned also that it really does make a difference when you praise people and when you say, that's wonderful that you did that. And it's wonderful when you also pray for them and pray with them. And so I consider myself a very caring person because that's the way I was raised. And you just don't, I haven't swayed a long ways away from that. So the things that I do are just a matter of being a human being.
That kind of led you into being at Houselew in so many different ways, too. It just must have come naturally.
I didn't even think about it, but I was getting a degree I remember at the University of Nebraska at Omaha, and I was getting a degree actually in urban planning because I said, well, we might as well do something with these cities. I'm not sure about it. I don't like this. But I decided that, well, somebody decided, that wasn't me, somebody else was observing me and said, we want you to work with this group of students from rural Nebraska, and we want them to feel comfortable, and we've observed you, and we'd like for you to be our work study students. No, it's not. It's graduate assistant. I was a work study student for something else, but the graduate assistant. So as a graduate assistant, I got to work with young people and help them to look at, you don't have to be this way. Come on, you can do this work. Okay, y'all stop fooling around over here. You mad and talking about you got to explain to your parents about your grades. Well, first of all, you got to go to class. I actually had, when I was teaching at Indiana State, I actually had a parent call me and said, I had an 8 o'clock class. And she said, well, will you call him and wake him up? I said, first of all, I don't know who you're talking about because I'm not allowed to acknowledge whether or not I have your child in my class or anybody else's child. But I can tell you this, if you wanted to be woke up at 8 o'clock, you call it. It ain't my business, it's your child, your money, okay. So I think that everybody needs to sit on their own pot and do what they're supposed to do. And I have been persistent with that, and I try to practice that. And then I also do something called redemptive grace. I believe that everybody gets a second chance. That means me as well. Because sometimes I get in my own way, and then I say, okay, Dottie, you could have done it a little different. You're not the worst person in the world, but you could do it different next time. So that's kind of my mantra for living, okay?
So what was your path to get into the Air Force?
Honey hush. Let me tell you. So I had a $70 scholarship from East High in Waterloo, Iowa. What you gonna do with $70 in 1962? And so I went to live with an aunt in Utah and went to a community college there. And that was a harrowing experience. A horse actually ate one of my final papers for an English class. I was waiting on the bus to pick me up, and I declare, and I had my paper looking at it, trying to read, and the horse just came and put his face over it and ate my paper. It's like, what are you doing here? I'm scared of horses anyhow. A horse used to babysit me when I was a little baby. That's the other thing. And Daddy, I call him also an animal whisperer. He was just a whisperer in general. His spirit, anything around him, just kind of obeyed him. So he told this horse, this is where you stand. This is where I'm putting Dorothy while I'm working in the field. And don't let it get outside that little. And the horse never did let me get outside. I am scared of horses today because they're so big. But that horse minded my daddy. But I remember also, we had 11 kids and 13 dogs. Daddy had 8 dogs, that were up in a pen, because when you go hunting, you don't want the dogs in the city to be looking at city smells. So I remember them dogs, he would just say, they would be barking, Daddy go outside and say, y'all hush. It was like us kids, but nobody make another noise. He had mongrels too, but the mongrels would hush too, because Daddy was just that kind of person. Mama was just the kind of person who would a hobo would come to the house and get something to eat, and Mama would feed him, and that was back in the day we went to rummage sales. She would give him a glass, a plate, a fork, or a spoon, for whatever it was, and then they could stand at the back door and eat, and then she'd make us break every piece of it when they left and throw it away. So, and we're talking, remember back in the 40s when they had that really, the stuff that's so expensive now, that red and green kind of glass stuff? That's what we broke and threw away. You know how much money that is right now if you had to. But anyhow, so generosity of spirit is, and is part of, and channeling yourself in a way that you really try to be an example of kindness and goodness and gentleness. Sometimes I have to be a little harsh, but my tone and my voice is about the same, and I never raise my voice too high. They even over there, they put that microphone in and a little stand when I was the commander here, because I was so short. They put the microphone up, and then we couldn't see me over the microphone. So what happened there is that, I was still doing my little voice, but didn't nobody mess with me. And today, don't nobody mess with me, because I just am like, I ain't getting you whooping.
So again, how did you get in the Air Force?
So you did ask me that. So when I was thinking about it, and I got back to Waterloo from going to that community college where the horse ate my paper, I could have got a job at Woolworths, and I could have got a job traveling, because I sang then. I had a contralto voice. My sister is a mezzo-soprano, and she sang with the symphony in our hometown and other places. But I was contralto, really strong contralto. My daddy was a traveling singer and quartets and all that kind of stuff. We were raised with music in our homes, and also feeding people. Those are the other things. A lot of eating in my life. When I came back from Utah, I had a job, this chance of getting this job at Woolworths, and I said, no, nay, say I. And there was a recruiter. I looked at the Army, the Army and the Marines. I said, first of all, y'all have to walk too much, and I don't want to carry nothing. A Navy, I don't want, I knew how to swim because my mom made us all take swimming classes, but I didn't want to be in a boat for the rest of my life, well, for whatever amount of time I had to be there. But the Air Force appealed to me because, first of all, I like blue. And I still wear blue. But the other part about the Air Force is that the job that I had scored so high, the Air Force person said, you can't go to them other people because we need this during Vietnam. And so what I was doing in the Air Force, I was key puncher, computer operator kind of person back in the day with them old Macintoshes. And so, and one day, I must admit that I had an anxiety attack because I began to, I don't know what happened. I was doing my work, and I looked at the key punch, and then I looked at the report, and then I recognized that I was actually keeping track of how many tanks were blown up in Vietnam. And I told you I'm already the oldest of 11 and the responsibility there. And I started thinking about the families that were involved on both sides, on all sides, not both sides, all sides, and how this disrupted families and what was going to happen with folks. And so when I got into this, it was a natural for me then to start dealing with trauma, because I started looking at everybody experiences trauma at some point. Well, many people experience extreme trauma and in their lives, and they can't really seem to cope with what's going to happen. And when I was living in Colorado Springs, raising my children, I did a bunch of different jobs, but when I was raising my children in Colorado Springs, I remember that I was working for the mental health center. I was working with seniors in mental health, and I also was working with veterans. And I recognized that some of the veterans that I was seeing in group in the mental health center had a special need. And so I was asked to see veterans, and I was supervising some people at one time. I remember I was supervising this one man. Sometimes you just have to tell people the naked truth. This person actually was talking to a client, and sometimes as a supervisor, you sit in on the conversation sometimes on the session. This man told this man, be a man like me. I said, you fired. Get out of here. You need some more schooling. Because I don't know what you learned or whatever it is, but your manhood is not the issue. And I could tell you a few things about it right about now if you really want to know. But for now, you fired. So I did send him back to the school that had sent him to me. From there, that's how, I did the Air Force work, then I did the trauma work. I went to Alaska and was a high school counselor. And when I came back, I began to do more work with veterans. And when I was working at the vet center, I did group work with veterans, and I've lost three veterans to suicide. And there's something called suicide prevention and something called suicide postvention. I can talk about both of those areas, and I can also talk with families who've lost people and what that all means, and how, because all we have is 3 square feet around us, and my circle intersects with your circle. And what I hope to be able to do is to help people to understand my own place in my own circle. One of the things that we know is that every 40 seconds, someone is taking his or her life. And that is a tragedy that, and it's probably more right now because the angst and the anxiety is so much. I got way beyond how I got into the Air Force, but that was what, this is the outcome right now. And my 19 years before my 100, I'm, wanting to be able to help people to just see that it's called being a human being.
Well, and for veterans too, this is not a short-term thing that's they get over. We're going to be so many wars or engagements or military actions. They're all the same. I mean, depending on what you're engaging in, can still have those effects.
It still has its effects, and it really, and the war trauma is one thing. The trauma that you occur when you're growing up is another thing. The trauma that occurs to you as you're an adult and trying to deal with the things that are happening in the lives that you live is another thing. But the basic premise is all the same, is that something happened in my life. It turned me around because I could not believe that this was going on. Or it was something that was so profound that it altered my whole sense of self. I do some seminars on trauma, and I also do seminars on moral injury. When I talk about it interferes with my whole spiritual self, my whole self. I do seminars for people around moral injury. When my self is so conflicted and so wounded that I am thinking I am the worst person in the world. Through moral injury conversations, I try to help people to move beyond, if not beyond, at least learn something about themselves that they could say, I can do give myself some grace again. I'm a human being, and that's what's going on. In the world that we're living in right now, we need more and more people to give themselves grace and to give other people grace as well.
Well, I'm intrigued with your work with female veterans.
Okay, thank you.
Talk a little bit about the sister soldiers.
The kind of things that we're concerned about women is the fact that nobody hears us. People will assume that they know what a woman is experiencing, and assume that we have shoulders down to from the top of our head to the soles of our feet. And so whatever is going on in somebody else's life, they tend to push it onto a woman. So as a woman, I have that going on. As a woman also, I have the whole notion that I'm interchangeable. So it's very hard for women, and I have to say for some men, for men as well, to say I love you, or to have someone say I love you and really mean it, to go beyond the touchy-feely stuff, to go to what the spirit and the soul and the heart is feeling, and the presence of being with that person means. Sex ain't everything, because it's a flash and a look, and then what you gonna do with another 19? Because you got all that pre-stuff and then the doing and then the post stuff, and it's like, what, for real? Okay, what I gotta have is something that says, as a woman, I gotta have some notion that I count and I matter. And so what Sister Soldier does is try to help people to say, you matter. Help me to help you figure that out. Women are homeless sometimes because we have families that will say you're supposed to grin and bear it. And they keep dumping more stuff on you. They never think that you're tired. And more than that, you're sick and tired, you know. And so recognizing that imbalance and recognizing that for many women, veterans, they've had to, if they had children, they had to raise them by themselves. And so they're homeless because, you know, they've raised their children, or they have situations where somebody was married to them, like one person I know, or several people that I've known and through my history, who took the money and ran, wanted to be married for the benefits, and then ran away, you know, took care of the kids for an interim period of time, and then, you know, what you gonna do? Because if I get deployed, then I've got to make sure that somebody's gonna take care of my kids. People will tell you that you're a bad mom. I have several friends who are women veterans, who have a dear friend who's a sister soldier, who's been in Iraq at the same time her mama and her sister were in Iraq. She's been injured from the top of her head to the soles of her feet. She's 70 now, in a situation where she's always having to go back to the doctor for something other. She had to learn how to walk and talk, and then she still ended up getting her master's degree in social work. With all of that going on for her, because she was bound and determined, I am somebody, and I am going to be the best person that I possibly can be. What I see in women veterans so often is that I am going to be the best person that I can possibly be, in spite of all of that other stuff that's out there that's saying, I don't matter, I don't count. Would that we would look at one another and say, you do matter, you do count.
That's a lesson we could all apply for about everything we go through right now.
Everything. And gender has no message, no, you know, I listen to people who get into situations and because they're hurting, they hurt people, hurt other people. So they say mean, vindictive things to folks. And it's like, all it does is just clicks away at the intention of being with somebody. And then when they find themselves alone, it's like, well, they were the ones who were the problem in the first place. So not built, that's so not true. But hurt people hurt other people. And anxiety is what's going on in our world right now as people try to deal and cope with what's going on in their lives and in the world that we're living in. So many people don't feel like there's nobody in my corner. And where do I turn? I want to give this message. First of all, turn inward and think of yourself as a person, and treat yourself first to the message that I really am somebody. I really am worth it. I really will invest in eating a meal every day, or whatever it is. I don't have to go and be around negative people, because there are other people who will consider who I am and just say, well, you know, what can I do to help you here? And it doesn't have to be a church. I'm a woman of faith, so I'm definitely into a church. But I believe that everybody has a bottom line. And when you have that bottom line, you know, live according to what your bottom line is. If you want to be treated a certain way, then treat other people like that as well. So it's a hard lesson, and it's hard to keep up for so many people. My heart bleeds, quite frankly, because it's so hard. And it doesn't have to be. But again, retributional grace it always turns into, I'm gonna blame you. So I'm asking people to turn that notion around to say, I'm going to affirm and give grace to myself and to others.
But where you are in your life right now, what is bringing you the most joy right now to you personally?
So the Lord let me live. So I had 19 years till I'm 100. And when I get to be 100, I'm going to ask for 3 more just because I'm greedy. But the whole idea is that I have had my ups and downs. Life has had its ups and downs. And it ain't supposed to be no crystal stair, as I've said before. However, I must still be here for a reason. And first of all, the reason has to be it doesn't have to be about me and my principles. It has to be about we and what we are going to do to be loving, caring human beings. The ways of the world where casting off someone because if they smell bad, then give them some soap, you know. If they don't have anything to eat, then point them to I found a food pantry today, for instance, so that I can tell people to go to this food pantry on the day that it's available, because there are people who really will help you to have food in your home, not just vegetables, but meat and bread and other kinds of things too. But I don't think that we get into a place or in conversations with people that say, I care often enough, or say, I hear you, or say that I've been there, done that, but let's talk about what we're going to do to be for real now. I take all that junk that you just throw at me and just say, okay, now let's be for real. Now, why are you continuing to be stuck? Are you wallowing in it? Why don't you wallow? Well, I tell people all the time. As a therapist, I've told my clients before, it's okay to wallow on your face because there's a whole book in the Bible called Lamentations. You know, well, every now and then, you need to turn over on your back so that you can see that there's air and breath up there. And maybe as your head turns up, you get on your elbows and you can see life a little differently. That's left up to you and your inner self. And it's also left up to us who are a part of that person's circle, one of that 3 circles of influence, 3 feet of circle. My circle gets to your circle, there's going to be at least 4 circles around me. Okay, so what are we putting in our circles? You know, sometimes we need to find somebody else to be in our circle. I'm just me. All I want to do is just to not make a difference, but to be a difference and to encourage others to see themselves as agents of change, agents of opportunity, agents of agency, agents of urgency.
Our thanks again to all the contributors who joined us for this episode of the Business Equity and Opportunities podcast. We hope you found it enlightening, useful, and inspiring. You'll find more information about the show on our website, beoshow.com. You can watch Business Equity and Opportunities Sunday mornings at 10 on Wish TV or live stream it through wishtv.com. Each week we provide 7 full segments with topics ranging from how to get started and how to access capital to the day-to-day running of your business and questions about accounting and bookkeeping. We feature business news and trends and always share a success story from one of our contributors. Join us next time for more insights into the world of small business. Be sure to sign up for our Business Equity and Opportunities newsletter to get even more valuable, up-to-date information. And if you have any questions or you'd like to be part of our show, please email us. The address is beo@wishtv.com. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Scott Sander. Thanks for listening.
Watch the Business Equity and Opportunities show on Wish TV and access all of our content and share it on demand anytime at beoshow.com. You can find more podcasts from Wish TV on the All Indiana Podcast Network at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.